Now in today's episode we're going to talk about two 35mm lenses that are extremely cheap, very much affordable, so think around $100 or euros price points, and available on multiple systems. Now I use them on my Fujis, but you can also use them on your Sonys, your Canon or your Nikons, which makes it very interesting to talk about, right? And the two lenses we are going to compare today are the TTArtisans and the 7Artisans. So if I confuse both of them, TTArtisans, 7Artisans, look a bit similar. Okay, but hey, anyways, let's go over the build quality. If we look here at the TTArtisans, we see here that the aperture ring is right open now and it closes down. It's on top, it's not on the bottom, so it's made here on top of the lens with the focusing ring here. As you can see, the barrel extends a bit, so it's kind of a zoom, it's weird for a prime. And here we have, as you can see, no weather gasket, no electronic pieces on it, so this is fully manual, which also brings me, before we go to the 7Artisans, also brings me to the thing. So if you're shooting with these lenses, go into your camera settings and find shooting without a lens. In Sony it's relatively easy. In Fuji, in the X-T2 and the X-T20s that I have, they've hidden it somewhere under buttons and dials in one of the sub-menus. Now the second lens here is the 7Artisans, which looks remarkably like the TTArtisans, and yet it is not. First of all, the focusing ring is here on top of the barrel. As you can see, it extends a bit as well. And the aperture ring is here. You see, wide open to the f1.2. What a beast. Now, again, also no weather sealing, no electrons. So for this lens as well, you need to go into your camera settings and adjust it. It also means that in Lightroom, for instance, you will not see your aperture. So it's kind of a guess. But let's see how these lenses perform. So first things first, I had a lot of test shots for both lenses, but my memory card kind of died out. I have to do a different test now to basically go over some of the sharpness, how well this lens focuses, and I'll share it also with some of my own experiences with both lenses. So as you can see here, this is a simple revolving plate. There we're gonna have a bit of light over there from the Godox coming in, and then behind it is the Christmas tree lit, so that gives us a bit of a thing with the bokeh. I'm shooting on my Fuji X-T2. This is an episode itself, and the way that I'm going to shoot is I'm going to shoot wide open first. So on this one, on the TTArtisans, it's 1.4. On the Mikey, it's 1.2. So f maximum, then we go to 2.8, f4. and f8, just to see how well the lens performs. It's all manual focusing, so at times it could be out of focus. First, let's do some lights and let's get started. One of the things about this lens is that because of the front aperture, pretty smooth between wide open and f.8, and all of a sudden after f16 it's almost like you have to press the blades personally into it. The focusing is pretty smooth, in general. One of the things I've noticed with these kind of tests is it is a bit deceptive because the focusing distances are very short. If you go outside, for instance, you do notice with this lens that there is quite a bit of softness in the center at times. There's no noticeable vignetting, but in the end of the day, you'll definitely see it's a cheaper lens, but that doesn't mean it's a bad lens. Now let's go over to the 7Artisans that I'm now on here. There is a aperture of 1.2 and it stops all the way down to an f16. Now that itself is pretty awesome. What I have noticed with this lens is this is the Mark 1. There is a Mark 2 out. The Mark 1 is about $100 you can get them. The Mark 2 on the other hand, about 150 euros. But let's now first do the tests again. I'll be damned. I've just looked at the actual footage here, and in my own experience, the 7Artisans f1.2 was always the better lens compared to the TTArtisans 1.4. Now looking at these pictures which you now see coming by, It's fair to state that I was very much wrong. The TT7Artisans, specifically when you shoot wide open, is superior, it seems, to the 7Artisans, and even all the way up to f4 it beats the 7Artisans, whoever came up with those names. From f8, that's where the TTArtisans underperforms and the 7Artisans perform. So if you're somebody who really likes to have the subject stand out with all the nice bokeh balls and stuff, then I would say the TTArtisans is definitely the better option. It's far more sharper on the wider open aperture, so between 1.4 and f.4. If you go more for sharpness while you're shooting a bit more close down, then the 7Artisans is better. This is the 7Artisans 35mm Mark 1. You also have a Mark II, but that's €50 more expensive. You can see the links in the descriptions, and if you have some other experiences with both of these lenses, let me know in the comments below. And far more interesting is I still have another two 35mm lenses. One is a native Fuji one, which is also automatic, and a Meike 35mm, and that is the next review coming on. Now, if you would have to choose based on what you see and based on your own experiences with some of these manufacturers, would you choose the 7Artisans or the TTArtisans? I have to say, shooting experience wise, the TTArtisans for me is the winner, because the shooting experience is just great with the aperture ring right on top of the lens, which is not always going too smooth. I would say that the build quality of the 7Artisans is much better. The shooting experience is just as pleasant. But overall, guys, if I have to choose a winner, and I would be walking around with these 35s all day, also based on what I saw in many of the pictures that I can't show you because they're broken. Outdoor shooting, specifically dynamic range, I think the 7Artisans win, so that means that you get more sharper backgrounds. I think when it comes to vignetting, the 7Artisans is also a bit better, but that's easy to solve in post. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.